Welcome to the daily English news program on Azərbaycan Televiziya with the major developments of the day. I am your host, İlham Məmmədov. President İlham Əliyev posted on his social media accounts marking the first anniversary of the crash involving the Embraer 190 aircraft operated by Azərbaycan Airlines. First Vice President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mehriban Aliyeva, made a post on her social media accounts marking the first anniversary of the crash involving an aircraft operated by Azərbaycan Airlines. President of Azerbaijan, İlham Əliyev, demonstrated a principled position from the very first day of the tragic Azal plane crash and put forward clear demands. The head of state stated that the causes of the air disaster must be thoroughly investigated. Those responsible must be punished, compensation must be paid, and the Russian side must issue an apology. The president's approach to this issue once again proved that national interests come above everything else for him.
On the day of the air disaster, President İlham Əliyev was traveling to St. Petersburg to take part in the informal CIS Heads of State Summit. While the presidential aircraft was in Russian airspace, the head of state was informed of the tragedy and an immediate order was given to return. Right after the president of Azerbaijan's plane landed at Heydar Aliyev International Airport, a meeting was held regarding the plane crash. The president's demands were categorical and fully in line with international law.
The
Russian side wants to hush up the issue, and of course, this does not do anyone credit. Naturally, our plane was shot down accidentally. Of course, there can be no talk of a deliberate terrorist act. Therefore, admitting guilt, issuing a timely apology to Azerbaijan, considered a friendly country, and conveying this to the public, these were the steps that needed to be taken. Unfortunately, during the first 3 days, we heard nothing from Russia except absurd versions.
The cause of the air disaster was neither a collision with a flock of birds nor a gas cylinder explosion, nor any technical malfunction. The investigation also showed that the aircraft was shut down in Russian airspace. The head of state put forward 3 demands. First, the Russian side must apologize to Azerbaijan. Second, those responsible must be identified and punished in accordance with the law. And third, compensation must be paid to the victims. President İlham Əliyev's principal stance reached its logical conclusion in Dushanbe on October 9, 2025. The Russian side issued an apology at the highest level.
Already during our first telephone conversation, I apologized for the tragedy having occurred in Russian airspace and expressed my most sincere condolences to the families of the victims. I would like to repeat this once again and note that, as agreed, we are providing every possible assistance to the investigation. Naturally, in such cases and tragic situations, everything required regarding compensation will be done by the Russian side, and the actions of all officials will receive a legal assessment. Of course, words of moral support to the families affected by this tragedy do not solve the main problem. It is impossible to bring back the people who lost their lives. However, it is our duty once again, as we agreed from the very beginning, to give an objective assessment of what happened and to uncover the true causes. This requires time. It will likely take some more time to put a final point to this matter. I would like to thank you for keeping the situation under control. We have exchanged views many times, and our teams remain in constant contact. You are personally overseeing the progress of the investigation, and we have never had any doubt that it would examine all issues objectively. Therefore, I would like to once again express my gratitude to you for considering it necessary to clarify this issue during our meeting.
The meeting in Dushanbe and the position of the Russian head of state on this matter became yet another clear demonstration that under the leadership of President İlham Əliyev, our country possesses real power and authority in the modern system of international relations.
Prime Minister Ali Asadov visited the graves of the heroic crew members of Embraer 190 aircraft belonging to Azərbaycan Airlines, which crashed near Aktau, and extended his condolences to their family members. The flowers were put on the graves of our national heroes, whose names were written with golden letters in the national aviation history of Azerbaijan. One year passed since the crash of Azal airliner near Aktau, Kazakhstan, moving en route Baku-Grozny. The memory of those who lost their lives in the crash was honored with a 1-minute silence, and victims of the tragedy were commemorated in the airport. On December 25th, another group of IDPs returned to their native homes in Khojavand, Zengilan and Khojali. 37 families returned to Qırmızı Bazar settlement in the Khojavand district, 29 families to the village of Mehmet Beyli in Zengilan, 20 and 12 families to the Khojali villages of Shusha Kent and Khanyurdu, respectively. That was all for the day. Thank you for watching us, and stay tuned not to miss the next edition of our program.